The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
What did the galaxy really know about Luke Skywalker and the return of the Jedi Order? How widespread was the knowledge of his role in the galaxy, and why does no one seem to be directing the Mandalorian his way?
There you'll find Ahsoka Tano.
After all, isn't Luke supposed to be starting his own Jedi Order? Why wouldn't he be the obvious choice for the Mandalorian to return the child to?
It just isn't fair.
Why does this seem to be totally forgotten in the Mandalorian series on Disney+? Today, we are taking a look at the great Luke Skywalker and asking the question, what did the galaxy actually know about him?
You must break through the fog of lies created around you.
To start, we first need to establish a timeline for the Mandalorian series. The Mandalorian takes place about 5 years after the Battle of Endor, or 9 years after the Battle of Yavin. While there isn't really much more to say on the topic right now, it will be important for later on. Now, during the Galactic Civil War, Luke's status as a Jedi was actually kept largely a secret, even to many of those within the rebellion itself. To most, Luke was nothing more than a great pilot. And even though the rebellion tried to keep his name and identity a secret, it did eventually get out. From the Star Wars canon book, Star Wars Propaganda, A History of Persuasive Art in the Galaxy, we learned that they tried to keep Luke's identity a secret. However, the inspiring story of a young farm boy who got in the pilot seat of an X-Wing and made the final blow to the Death Star was bound to come out eventually. And it wasn't long before tales of Luke's heroism began circulating throughout the galaxy. However, most members of the galaxy did not know that Luke carried a lightsaber, and the nature of his many confrontations with Darth Vader were kept largely a secret, with most not even knowing that the two had ever faced off at all. But that's just the destruction of the first Death Star, and it can easily be written off since Luke was, in fact, an X-Wing. What about the destruction of the second Death Star? Well, for a long time, we didn't really have an answer as to what the galaxy thought Luke was doing. After all, his confrontation on board the Death Star directly with Vader and the Emperor is a lot harder to write off than Luke being in the cockpit of an X-Wing and simply using the Force to either guide the timing or actual direction of the proton torpedo that he shot into the belly of the Death Star. On top of that, we know that the galaxy would not find out that Luke was the son of Vader for another 24 years after Endor, which is still 19 years after The Mandalorian. Sadly, we still don't really have a good answer for what the galaxy thought Luke's participation was in the Battle of Endor, since we don't really have any official information. I actually thought that we did have some information when I was watching The Mandalorian Chapter 9, where I saw Luke's name written in Aurebesh in the text that encircles the bottom of the Death Star. However, upon a closer examination, this turned out to just be an excerpt from the opening crawl of Return of the Jedi and not actually any in-universe information.
Good job.
That said, as we already established, the galaxy would not know about the confrontation between Luke and Vader for another 24 years from that point, and the galaxy would also likely not even know that Luke was on board the second Death Star confronting Vader and the Emperor. Remembering that most of the galaxy did not know that the Emperor was a Sith Lord, nor that Luke was a Jedi. Those who esteemed Luke highly did so more often than not for his feats as an X-Wing pilot, rather than the stories of him using the Force or a lightsaber. We can speculate as to why when we look at the propaganda put out by the Rebellion and the New Republic, which emphasized the recruitment of pilots, wanting to inspire the average civilian to join the Rebellion and the New Republic with the claim that the greatest heroes of the galaxy were the individuals who piloted these single-man snub fighters. However, this was all close to or during the reign of the Empire, and it makes a lot of sense as to why they would want to hide Luke's identity as a Jedi so that he wouldn't be hunted by the Inquisition or targeted more specifically since, the Empire wanted to kill all the Jedi. And remembering that The Mandalorian takes place 5 years after Endor, so certainly by now this would have been enough time for Luke to have started his own Jedi Order, right?
Every day, more lies.
Well, actually, that is not the case in canon. Luke's first apprentice was Leia, who he trained right directly after Endor and continued her training until about a year after Endor. However, after that, this is when she gets her vision that She believes that her training will lead to the death of her son, and so she stops. Luke sees this as an opportunity to prepare, promising Leia that he will be ready to train her son when he is 10 years of age, and so what he decides to do is he is going to search the galaxy to find remnants of the ancient Jedi so that he can know as much about the Order as possible before he becomes a Jedi Master himself. This is when he teamed up with Lor San Tekka to basically pull an Indiana Jones across the galaxy, which is largely where we see Luke in the canon materials that take place between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Luke travels all across the galaxy looking for ancient Jedi temples, Jedi archives, and texts and holocrons, all with the goal of making sure that he is as knowledgeable and equipped as possible that he can efficiently teach the next generation of Jedi. Luke did not start his own Jedi Order until his nephew Ben was 10 years old, finally deciding that he was ready to train the next generation of Jedi, having already accumulated a large collection of holocrons, books, texts, and a knowledge of where the ancient temples were scattered across the galaxy, marking the start of Luke's own Jedi Order. However, this will not occur for another 6 years at the time of The Mandalorian, meaning that at this point, Luke is still running around the galaxy on his own or with Lor San Tekka, simply looking for Jedi artifacts, and his identity as a Jedi Knight would not be well known at this point since he did not want to draw undue attention until he was actually ready to take on a band of students for his own. This explains why no one seems to know about Luke or his Jedi Order, since it doesn't exist yet, and he wants to make sure that he is the most capable and prepared Jedi Master before he reveals to the galaxy that the Jedi have finally and truly returned. Ultimately, Luke's status as a Jedi was never actually a secret. However, it still wasn't publicized, and there was a lot of misinformation and guessing revolving around who Luke was, along with his actual and specific contribution to the rebellion and the transformation of the galaxy. Even once he actually started his Jedi Order, it still wasn't largely publicized, with Luke choosing to raise the Jedi Order on a remote and isolated planet so that they wouldn't fall into the same trap as the Jedi of the Great Republic era, wherein the Jedi became more public figures rather than actual spiritual leaders and defenders of peace. Luke wanted the Jedi to be out of public scrutiny and out of the public eye so that they could operate with true objectivity, without being shackled by politics or the Senate, so that they wouldn't fall into the traps that they did during the reign of Palpatine. Even still, this will not occur for another 6 years by the point of The Mandalorian, meaning that it is perfectly reasonable to understand why no one seems to be directing Din Djarin to Luke Skywalker and his, as of yet, non-existent Jedi Order. But for now, that is everything I have for you on what the galaxy knew about Luke Skywalker during the Galactic Civil War and the early days of the New Republic. These episodes are really hard to put together because there is no one singular source of information as to the public opinion of a specific character, so you really have to put together information from at least 6 different sources of canon materials. And I hope that I presented all of it to you, all my findings, in an interesting way, a way that was easy to understand. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you want to stay up to date with everything Mandalorian related. We are trying to get out a video a day for this week and hopefully next week as well. But if you learned absolutely nothing new, you can feel free to leave a thumbs down, completely guilt-free, because that tells me I'm not doing my job. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, may the lore be with you, now and forever.